Good afternoon. Today I'm going to be talking about the tribe of Ephraim. I'm going to show that Ephraim are the Africans who also are the Moors. And I'm going to show that Ephraim is the chosen bloodline from which Jesus is supposed to come from. I'm going to start off with a little Bible verses, and then I'm going to go in a couple of little sources. Hopefully I can get this done quick and won't be long and take up too much time. I'm going to start off with Joseph's dream in Genesis 37. Joseph have two dreams as a teenager, which he tells his family. Joseph and his brothers are in the field and they're binding up the sheaves. And his sheaf stands upright while his brother's sheaves gather around and bow down to his. And this right here shows that he will rule over his brothers. Then he has another dream of the sun, the moon, and the stars. And this also shows that his not only his brothers, but his father and mother will also honor him. In this dream, we say this Joseph going into Egypt, not realizing that Joseph, the prophecy toward Joseph, most of the time, they also included Ephraim. And we just look at the 11 stars, right? They bow down to the 12th star. It's the 12 tribes. And it's the house of Joseph that they bound down to. You remember, Ephraimites were the first kings, and the Ephraimites ruled over Israel first. So that dream is showing Ephraim. Also, not just Joseph. Going along though, I'm going to Genesis 48. Jacob blesses Ephraim and Manasseh. Joseph brings his two sons, Manasseh the older and Ephraim the younger, to be blessed by his father. Jacob crosses his hands and places his right hand on Ephraim's head and his left hand on Manasseh's head, even though Manasseh is the firstborn. Joseph tried to correct him, but Jacob insists, saying, "I know, my son, I know. He shall become a people, and he shall be great. But truly his younger brother shall be greater than he, and his descendants shall become a multitude of nations." So we saying that Ephraim descendants will become a multitude of nations. And we done heard, plenty like who said, I think it was Israel, said he's going to become a multitude of nations. Abraham said he's going to become a multitude of nations. But these are prophecies that, basically they're going to become a multitude of nations in a later time. So the prophecies that were passed down to Abraham, down to Israel, and down to Ephraim. And they say his descendants shall become a multitude of nations. Not one nation, but a multitude of nations. So Ephraim will be a multitude of nations. Ephraim shall be Israel. A multitude of nations. That's Israel. That's every tribe. Ephraim will be every tribe. I'm going to go and show and prove later on. I'm going to go and show and prove that Israel is every tribe. He is the multitude of every nation. This effectively gives the greater blessing to Ephraim despite the birth order. Now let's go to Genesis 22. I'm going to say 22 to 24. Joseph is a fruitful broth, even fruitful broth by a well, whose branches run over the wall. The archers have sorely grieved him and shot him and hated him. But his bow abode in strength, and his arms of his hand were made strong by the hands of the mighty God of Jacob. From thence is the shepherd, the stone of Israel. So right here they say, even though, It ain't in the Bible, but commentaries say, from thence is the shepherd, the stone of Israel. Well, who is the shepherd? Who is the stone of Israel? We know this right. We already know this right here in somebody else's interpretation, but it's still saying Joseph. Joseph is the shepherd, and not Joseph, but from him should become a shepherd in the stone of Israel. And we see right here, it says Joseph will be a fruitful broth, and it shall go over the wall. The branches just into over the walls. Well, we already know Ephraim is to mean to be fruitful. And I'm going to go and show, well, the shepherd in the stone of Israel shall come from Ephraim. So we all know Ephraim become the dominant tribe of Israel in the northern kingdom. Sometimes Ephraim is used to refer to the whole entire northern kingdom due to his tribe influence. The name Ephraim in Hebrew means fruitful or have been fruitful. This meaning reflects the significance of Ephraim's birth, as his mother Rachel named him in gratitude for the children she bore after the bearing for a long time. In Genesis 4:1-5-2, Joseph named his son Ephraim, saying, "For God caused me to be fruitful in the land of my affliction." The name Ephraim emphasized the idea of prosperity, growth, and being blessed with abundance. It also relates the idea of fruitfulness in the sense of multiplying or thriving, particularly in a difficult circumstance. Now, we're going to look at the name Ephraim. The name Ephraim in Hebrew is also associated with fruitful, and it also means fertile. It's related to the root word pear, which means fruit. In the Bible, Ephraim is sometimes used as a name for a region in reference to the Ephraim, a place mentioned in the context of Bethlehem. You can see Genesis 35:19 and Micaiah 5:2. Ephraim is considered an ancient name for Bethlehem, meaning Bethlehem could be referred to as the fruitful place or a fertile place. The reference to Rachel weeping in Chronicle 5:2, it states that Judah prevailed above the brethren, and of him came the chief ruler. But the birthright of Joseph, meaning Judah became the most prominent tribe, producing the future ruler, while Joseph's lineage inherited the birthright. So we know that when he crossed his hand and put his hand over the older, the younger, and he crossed hand, that the birthright, it went to Ephraim. And we all done seen the birthright being passed before. The younger getting the older birthright. We seen that with Abraham when Ishmael didn't get the older the birthright. And then we seen that also with Israel when he took Edom birthright. Okay, moving along. So, in Bethlehem, the children were killed, and the massacre, it was a big massacre when King Herod the Great, in the attempt to kill the newborns looking for Jesus, he ordered to slaughter all male children under the age of 2 in Bethlehem, and that's when Rachel cried. In Matthew 2:8, it is written, "A voice was heard in Ramah, weeping in great mourning, Rachel weeping for the children, refusing to be confronted because they are no more." So right then we see Rachel mourning because of the deaths of the tribe in Bethlehem. So why would Rachel cry for the tribe of Judah? It makes no sense. If Rachel gonna cry, it would be for her children. Joshua 15 also lists the cities that the tribe of Judah got, and Bethlehem wasn't mentioned. You can go see for yourself. And like I said, it's Joshua 15. And Micaiah 5:2, a verse that's part of a larger Messianic prophecy. But as for you, Bethlehem Ephraim, too little be among the clans of Judah. From one will go forth to me to be a ruler in Israel. His going forth or coming from long ago, from the days of eternity. Let me read it again for you. But as for you, Bethlehem Ephraim, too little be among the clan of Judah. From you one will come forth to me to be a ruler in Israel. His goings forth from long ago, from the days of eternity. So we see that the Ephraimites, they are little in the clans of Judah. They're not majority, they're the lesser. And then they tell us one will come forth and rule over Israel. And that one that come forth would be from a long time ago, from the days of eternity. I mean, how that don't fit to Messiah coming to the Ephraim family? Well, not the Ephraim family, the Ethatites. But we're more on the Ephraim family later. We're going to book of Jasher 81, 54. And they carried on a great severe battle against Israel. And the Lord delivered Amalek and his people unto the hands of Moses and the children of Israel. And into the hand of Joshua, the son of Nun, the Ephraimite, the servant of Moses. So we see right here, Joshua, the son of Nun, was called an Ephraimite. But we know Joshua is an Ephraimite. So we starting to see an Ephraimite ain't nothing but an Ephraimite. Chronicles 5:2. It states that Judah prevailed above his brethren, and of him came the chief ruler. But the birthright was Joseph, meaning Judah became most prominent tribe, producing future rulers, while Joseph's lineage inherited the birthright. Again, saying the same thing, that Joseph got the birthright. And we know through the birthright, it comes the lineage of Jesus. Now we're going to some dictionaries with some definitions and some concordances. A dictionary Bible, volume 1, the Hastings Dictionary Bible. These two different dictionaries affirming that Ephraimite or Ephraimite. A dictionary Bible, volume 1, page 728, Ephraimite, a native to Bethlehem, an Ephraimite. Hastings Dictionary of the Bible, page 234, Ephraimite, a native of Bethlehem, an Ephraimite. The coordinates online website, such as Strong Coordinates, Hestif Coordinates of the Bible with Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek dictionaries, in the Net Bible. Also enlightening us to confirm that Ephraimite and Ephraimite, the tribe of Joseph, are the same. Old Testament Hebrew coordinates say Ephrati, a descendant of Ephraim, word origin from the same as Afar. Remember Afar. I want y'all to remember the Afar. A definition of descendant of Ephraim. Also inhabited of Ephraite. Word usage. The strong coordinates, the Ephrati, a descendant of Ephraim, also inhabited of Ephraim. Part speak adjective translation. Ephrati, fonted spelling of Ephraite. Short definition, Ephraimite. Ephrati, word origin for the same as afar. Ephrati, same as afar. Remember afar again. There it go. Ephraim is afar. Ephraim it's afar. They mean afar. We got two different sources saying Ephraimite is afar. Definition: descendants of Ephraim, also inhabitant of Ephraimite or Etherites. I don't know why it's inhabitants right there. I must skip some, but we're gonna go on long. In the Net Bible, Hebrew Ephraim. We see Ephraim is a Farti, an Ephraimite, an Etherite. Okay, now we're going to Ruth 1. Noma lose her husband and her sons. In the days when the judges ruled, there was a famine in the land. So a man from Bethlehem in Judah, together with his wife and his two sons, went to live for a while in the country of Moab. The man's name was Elimelech, and his wife's name was Noma. And the names of their two sons were Mahalan and Kelon. They were Ephraimites from Bethlehem, Judah. See, they were Ephraimite from Bethlehem, Judah. They didn't call them Judahites, they called them Ephraimites. And they went to the Moab and they lived there. Now Elimelech, Noma's husband, died, and she left with her two sons. They married Moabite women. One name was Ophir and the other one named Ruth. After they lived there but 10 years, both Mahalan and Kelon also died, and Noma was left without her two sons and her husband. So we seen that they died in the land of Moabites, and they left two wives. Where we know later on they went back to Bethlehem to Ephrati, to be Ephrati, and everybody knows the story of Ruth and Boaz, and they got married, Boaz, and they got married. Well, when Boaz married Noma, you remember he was kin to I'm not married Noma, but when he married Ruth, he was kin to Noma. He was the cousin. He was the cousin of her children. So he married her and took on the kinsman the kinsman rights. The kinsman right. If somebody died in your family and you don't have nobody you don't got no brother and nobody else do it, the next of kin to do it. So Boaz was taking on that right. So Boaz is from the tribe of Judah, and he went to marry Ruth. He taking on the kinsman. So any kids they have by right, what God put in place will be from the lineage of Nominum, and Nominum Ephraite. So the children will come up Ephraimites, and every child they have after that will be Ephraimites. So we see right then, by bloodline, of course, they'll be Judah. But by the right of kinsmen, they're Ephraimites. So we see God right then, he made them Ephraimites and Judah. That's like combining the two sticks. So right here we're going to the blessing of Ephraim in the book of Genesis 4:9-2. Jacob Israel gave blessing to his sons, including Ephraim. Ephraim was blessed with the promise of the prosperity, strength, and great future, even though this was the younger son. Jacob's blessing, Ephraim symbolized the tribe of future prominence. In prophecies in Hosea, the prophet Hosea speaks the tribe of Ephraim, often using them as a symbol of Israel, moral and spiritual decline. Ephraim in Hosea represent a lower portion of Israel that turns away from the God. So again, this is what I was going to say. When he'll give you the prophecy, when Hosea will give you the prophecy of Ephraim, it was about Israel. It was about Israel. It was about the Hebrews. It was about the northern kingdom. It wasn't just about Ephraim. It extended to Israel. Because we know Ephraim was over the house of David. He ruled over Israel. The king, God always dealt with the king. God always dealt with the head. He always started with the head. Then it goes down to the body. Even with Judah, it started with the king. Then it goes down to the body. But Ephraim was getting criticized for artistry and wickedness and all the stuff that come from him dealing with Jezebel. Ephraim is a symbol of Israel's future. Right here going back and saying, Bible scholars, they interpret Ephraim as a representation of the northern kingdom of Israel in the split of the northern kingdom and southern kingdom. Ephraim's downfall and exile are often linked to the prophecy of Israel. And Ephraim, when you mention Ephraim, that prophecy is going toward the lost tribes of the lost tribe. Right here it says, after the division of the kingdom of Israel, two parts, northern kingdom often associated with Ephraim and the southern kingdom of Judah. The 10 tribes came to collectively called Ephraim. Since Ephraim was one of the most powerful tribes in the north, the northern kingdom eventually fell to Assyria in 17 BCE, and the two tribes were exiled and lost to history, which led to the term lost tribes of Israel. However, the biblical prophecy, particularly in the books like Isaiah and Ezekiel, speak of the future restoration of Israel and his people. In Isaiah 11:12, the passage speaks of a time when God will recover the remnants of the people from the nations where they were scattered, including Ephraim. Ephraim is highlighted as the key part of the gathering of the people of Israel. See, again, going back to saying, the scattering of Ephraim. Because Ephraim is Israel. Ephraim is Israel. And, the reason I want to, hammer this down with Ephraim, because I'm going to show Ephraim is Israel. And I'm going to show that Ephraim is Africa. Ephraim is the Africans. So when we saying Ephraim, we saying Africa. Africans. So we saying Israel. So that's why I'm hammering down that when he spoke to Ephraim, the prophecies of Ephraim extended to Israel. It's a Bible quote when God say, well, he said, I call your name. He said, I called your name and I surnamed you, but you act like you don't know me. Because he calling you African. You don't even know your name. You don't even know you're African. You don't even know an African. It's an Ephraimite. You don't even know African. It's Israel. You don't even know your name. You got people out here saying, hey, them Africans, and we don't got nothing to do with Africans, and you don't even know your name. God covered you. I was talking to a dude, and he was telling me, we ain't no African. African don't got nothing, and African ain't nothing but a blanket term. Yes, you're right. God covered us. It's a blanket term. God covered us. African. Everybody can't say they Hebrews, because everybody ain't African. In order to be a Hebrew, in order to be an Israelite, you got to be an African. Israel. Ephraim. I'm just trying to hammer that in. That's why I keep going to all these passages saying the same thing. In that day, the Lord will extend his hand and a second time recover the remnants of the people which will remain from Assyria, Egypt, and Partho, Cush, and Shania and Ham, and the islands of the sea. And this suggests the future return of exiled Israelites, including Ephraim, in the corners of the world. Now I'm going to Ezekiel 37:15-23. This is the vision of the two sticks. And I mentioned this right here earlier about the two sticks. I wonder why that tie in together. I might have put that in together. I don't think that spoke one in there. But he goes say about the two sticks. I will make them one nation in the hand and on the mountains of Israel, and one king shall be king over all of them. So God was saying He gonna take the two sticks and He gonna join them together, and they're gonna be one nation, and they're gonna be a king. Going back to what I was saying, the one nation, African. We all Negroes and we all African. And I'm gonna go and show where we all became Negroes, and now today we all African. Even though we got people we don't even want to be African, and we got people that say we say we not Africans, and the people that say they are African ain't even Africans. They want to be the African. We don't even want to be the African. We don't want the chosen bloodline. We run from the chosen bloodline. But I put this right here. How to go with this right here? With how this right here got in there? But I guess it goes with how we got here, how we got lost in this famous prophecy. King Ahab summoned. Okay, then I don't think they go there. I just end up putting it there. But King Ahab summoned his alliance with the Phoenix son, particularly Tyre, by marrying Jezebel, the daughter of Phoenix king. He's solidifying the political and the commercial tie between Israel and Tyre. Ezekiel is coming to take two sticks. Okay, I guess it did go in there, but it threw me off because it don't tie in. But this right here, this is what I wanted to go show you, because this right here, King Ahab cemented an alliance with the Phoenix son, particular Tyre, by marrying Jezebel, the daughter of a Phoenix son king. And this right there got a lot to do with proving we the Africans and proving that we the Moors. When Ahab married Jezebel, that's a Phoenix son king, and that's a Ephraimite king. That's them joining and becoming one nation. And that's signifying them become one nation. We'll go back to another Bible verse, and it say that the Phoenix son will be called the great ones. They be called, God said they be called the great one. And then it's the Bible always speak of how they were great seafarers. They were the greatest seafarers at that time. And see, when Ahab cemented the alliance with the Phoenix sons and married Jezebel, he tied himself to the great one. He tied himself to be great one. He to be one of the great ones. And then he cemented the political deal that Solomon put in with the Phoenix sons. They was into trade. They were going across. They were getting in the seas, and they was in the seas, and they were doing trade. So right there, it telling that they was out and they was exploring. They was like explorers. They was out exploring and they were trading and they were getting no other nation. They was on the move, and that's how they got into Africa. When I found out, when I look, okay, I was studying the Moors, and I already knew Ephraimite was the Moor. But I started looking, and I got to thinking, and I got to looking like all the places where the Jews were popping up at. But I was studying the place where the Jews popping up at, and every time I go study, like, well, Jews here. Every time I'm following the dot, Jews here, Jews here. Then I go back and I go look. Like, dang, you got the Jews here, but who discovered the place? Every place the black Jew plopped up, Phoenix sons discovered. The Phoenix sons discovered it. Phoenix sons were there first. And I was like, dang, how the Phoenix Sun pop up everywhere that they pop up. So that when I went back, I want to know about the Phoenix Suns now. Dang, what's the connection between Phoenix Suns and these black Jews? So I went back and I grabbed the Bible and I see, oh, the Phoenix Suns, the great one. Oh, Phoenix Suns, the purple people. Phoenix Suns are the greatest seafarers at the time in the world. And then, so when I'm looking at that right there, and I'm looking at the place, I'm gonna show you places they discovered, and I'm looking at that right there like, dang. And then after they discovered it, and then they settled it. They not only they put their trade post up right there in the areas, and then they settled it in them same areas. And one put what caught my mom. I don't even think I got that in here. I think it was Titus. He wrote and said that the Jews was in Crete, the black Jews that was in Crete, and that right there caught my eye like, dang. And he said they were from Crete, and that caught my eye like, why is he saying Jews from Crete, and what Jews got to do with Crete? So I wanted to go, dang, I want to go study this. And that's when I found that the Phoenix Sun discovered Crete. And now I'm like, dang, the Phoenix Sun discovered Crete. And now, they're saying the Jews here. So I'm thinking, the Phoenix Sun, the Jews? What's really going on here? And then I already knew about the Phoenix Sun. They discovered Iberian Peninsula. They had trade ports on Iberian Peninsula. Now let's think about it. The Phoenix Sun's over here in North Africa. They discovered Morocco. They discovered Carthage and became the Carthagins. So every look over the Iberian Peninsula. Sephardic Jews. And we ain't got to North Africa yet. I'm gonna wait till I get to North Africa. That's why I'm leading up to North Africa. The black Jews in North Africa. Well, y'all already know Jews in Africa. We know the Jews of Mali. But we see Phoenix Sun playing a whole major role in this. But this marriage right here, it opened my eyes. I went to the Bible and that marriage opened my eyes. And I'm looking like, boom, there go connection. Here go the connection right here of the Phoenix Sun popping up everywhere the Jew popped up at. That marriage. So that marriage right there, what showed me, then here go your Moors. Here go your Moors right here. Who are your Moors? Your Moors are the other Carthagins and the Ephraimites. Because when Ahab married Jezebel, what would his child be? What would they probably grow up and be kings. They probably grow up and be kings and queens or what? Phoenix Sun. They be the two royal families. They are the royal families of both. So they go get royal. They solidified the royal families. So now, when you look at I look at the Carthagins. I look over the Carthagins that rule in North Africa. The king, that king is most likely, we know, an Ephraimite. He's an Ephraimite. By blood, because his father, he's an Ephraimite. These are Ephraimites. These are Jews. Well, I ain't going to say Jews, Israelites. That right there, that would caught my eye right there. And finding out the Phoenix Suns are the purple people, that blew my mind. The purple people. Y'all know what purple signifies, right? They put on, they all of them wore purple. Who wore purple back them time? The nobles, the kings. They was kings. All of them had purple on, even though they made it's Tyrian purple. It's called Tyrian purple, and it was they purple. They were the kings. They were the king. Oh, all the king, all the white king. No, they were the kings. Following the dude. I followed the dude, and cause I'm coming over to America. I'm coming over to see about the church, about the Hebrews in America. Cause I'm following the dude. I'm following one dude called Dane, and he always talking about the Indians, and we don't got nothing to do with Hebrew. We don't got nothing to do with Hebrew. But it's Hebrew mouths and his Hebrew artifact found all through America. So what you mean you don't got nothing to do with Hebrew? But we got, come on, now, what a connection. So I went and followed this other dude. And this other dude, basically, he don't got nothing to do with the Hebrews over cross seed, and he was talking about, he was talking about the Moor, and he opened up and he went and said it. He was talking about the Moors, and he went and showed Moors. He showed some pictures of some Moors, and these Moors, they was the Moors he showed. They were the Britons, and they were kings in Britain, and Scottish king. They were Britain. They was over there in Britain, and they were Scottish king, black. And I'm looking at it like, and I'm I did address him, and I asked him like, because he called them hunter gatherers, and he said they uncivilized. And I went and asked him like, well, Moors come from, we know Moors come from North Africa. And he don't try to tie the two. Well, we know more come from North Africa. So right then, when he showed me that they were kings and queens. The Moors were kings and queens in Europe from ancient time. And that dude right there, he always talking about the mound builders, because in America they call it mound builders. He always mound builder this, mound builder that, mound builder, and then we built the mound. So he took credit. He was saying that these Moors over here, they stand in the castles of the Hebrews of America. He said the Hebrews of America, they came over here. They were the Moors. They were the Moors over they're not the Moors, but they built the castles. And he say that I guess they left, and then the Moors came and took the castles, and so the Moors on their land, and he called them, what he called them, corn. I forgot what he called them, but basically saying that's them over there. That's us over there. They stand in our castle and just talking down on the Moor. But he opened up my eyes, and and that's when I'm like, dang, I already knew that the Carthagins. That's when I started thinking the Carthagins were the Moors. That's why I had to go back and study. I'm like, boy, the Carthagins might be the Moors and not the Ephraimites, because I already know the Carthagins. I already done seen. I already knew about the Carthagins going over there. The Phoenicians, not the Carthagins. Well, it is. You had Carthagin. I had done seen that. You had Carthagin citizen went over there being a king. But you go look at the artifacts over there in Britain. The artifacts in Britain say it's a couple of books out there. Say the whole Orion race, the white race that we know that's supposed to be the whole Orion race of Phoenicians. It's made up of Phoenicians. So the Orion race, the ones that became the kings over there in Britain, that was the dude something he taught me that they were Moors. But I already knew about a little bit of Hebrew artifacts over there too. But it was mainly Phoenicians artifact. But then I got to thinking, you wouldn't know the difference. How would you know why would you know the difference? Because at the end of the day, they both Hebrew. They got the Canaanites and Hebrew got the same script. Phoenicians are Canaanites. It's the same script. So when you saying, hey, when we sitting there saying that all these Phoenician script, how would we know? When they both Hebrew scripts. So like I was saying, the dude when brought up the Moor, and I'm thinking the purple people Over there in South Europe, these people over there in South Europe, the Moors over there, I even found an article, and I don't got that. I pulled it up. Well, I could put it up because I did see it one day. I did see it. I ended up pulling it up. It ain't even. It's an article, but it got a picture on it, and they called. They say the Indonesians or Britain are the same. Or more. They are more. They're the same people that's in America. And that article, it tell you what, from 1800 something, saying that in America there were Moors. In Britain there were Moors. And it showed black. Both of them, they painted the same, they used the same people over here and just dressed them up different. But both of them looked alike. And so when we see the purple people and they run around with these robes on, it's because they were kings. They were the noble side of over there in South Europe. Even though the Tyrian purple was theirs, they were the kings in Europe. So when you see these white kings later on, they wearing the purple and it came, the nobles wearing the purple, them white people went, it came from the Moors. The Moors was the first king over there in Europe, in Scotland, in Britain. They was the Aryan race. And that just blew my mind. But dude opened up that right there and showed me that. And when he going back and say, hey, they built the Hebrews over in America they built these castles over here, and they the real Hebrews, and the people over there ain't the real Hebrew. Going back to Ahab and Jezebel. Because he said they mound builder. We know we did that right there because they living on mounds, and we know we did. Going back to Jezebel and Ahab, they got married, and guess what they did? They built their castle on the mound in Sumerian. In Sumerian, they built their castle on the mound. Mound builders, Moors, mound builders. They built them. They built them castles over there. It's in the Bible. They mound builders. So why he's still saying, "Oh, they mound builders, we built it"? The Bible says right here they built it. The Bible says they first person built it. It's in the Bible. Mound builders. So that says a lot about Ahab and the West name, and it's funny that it ties in right here with Ephraim right here when it's speaking of the two sticks. God tells Ezekiel that these two divided kingdoms will eventually be reunited under one king. Okay, right. Okay, I don't know how to tie them in because they don't think right there. One king. They have built a palace, sometimes referred to. Oh, well, I know I didn't add it in because it's right here. They got it right here. God tells Ezekiel that these two divided kingdoms will eventually be reunited under one king. King Ahab built a palace, sometimes referred to as a ivory house, on a hill in Samaria, symbolizing the future of reunification of Israel. Ephraim, representing the northern kingdom, will no longer be scattered, but will be part of a unified Israel. A unified Israel. Ephraim will be part of a unified Israel. Israel. Always these two always tying together because Ephraim became Israel. God called you by your surname. He surnamed you and called you by that name. You don't know that name. Ephraim. Your name is Ephraim. African is Ephraim. And I'm going to go through that later on. And then, I'm going back to say, I will make them one nation in the land on the mountain of Israel, the mountains of Ephraim, and one king shall be king over them all. One king shall be king over them all. One king was king over them all. Really? Ahab married Jezebel. See me that right there, that was his name, and he went out. But guess what Ahab also did? Ahab took his daughter and married his daughter to a Judah king. Oh, Ahab just, look at Ahab. He cemented himself over here to this right here, to this kingdom over here, and then he cemented himself to the tribe of Judah. From somebody, when I told somebody that right there, well, he couldn't marry his daughter to the tribe of Judah because they married within their tribe, didn't they? I thought the same thing. I don't know, but I thought they married inside their tribe too. What I was taught, they married inside their tribe, but I think I have heard different where they might marry outside of their tribe. But we all know they married inside their tribe. So that made me think. They married inside their tribe. Somehow this Judah king is an Ephraimite. Jeremiah 31:9. This passage speaks of Ephraim eventually returning to God. They will come with weeping. They will pray as I bring them back. I will lead them beside the streams of water on a level path where they will not stumble, because I am Israel's father. I am Israel's father. And Ephraim is my firstborn. I am Israel's father, and Ephraim is my firstborn. I am Israel's father, and Ephraim is my firstborn. Here Ephraim is portrayed as beloved son who will be restored to God's favor. God's chosen. Israel was God chosen. Now Ephraim is God chosen. Ephraim becoming Israel. Now I'm finna get into the Finney Son trade post. The Finney Son established extensive networks of trade posts and colonies across the Mediterranean, North Africa, and beyond, serving as hub for commerce and cultural exchange. It goes some of the places, Eastern Mediterranean. Okay, you got Tyre. We already know about Tyre, Sidon, and Byblos. And then we got Cyprus. Then you got Carthage. You got Carthage in Tunisia. Cadiz. That's in Spain. I don't know how to pronounce it. Ibiza. Melch Ibiza. And Ibiza is in the Iberian coast too. So going back to the Iberian Peninsula. And speaking of the Iberian Peninsula, Iberian Peninsula, what they got I think they got a river over there called Eber. But Iberian Peninsula, Eber. If we go look at the IBER, it's Hebrew, Eber. It could be spelled IBER, or it could spell be EBER, or it could be spelled IVRI, Iberian Peninsula. It's Iberian Peninsula, Iberian Peninsula, Eber Peninsula, Hebrew Peninsula. Now we come over to North Africa, where we see the Finney Son discovered North Africa. Leptis Magna, that's Libya. In Lexis, Morocco, coastal settlement trading in Africa goods like ivory and gold. So these are settlements, what's the name? The settlements. Okay, now in Atlantic and beyond. Cornwall. Where's Cornwall? Europe. Britain. They put a post in Britain, and then they became the Moors of Britain. They became the Orion. I don't even know how to pronounce this right here. Madeira and Canary Islands. So we see that they made it all the way to the Canary Islands. I don't even know if I got it on here, but I'm going to keep going. But they made it all the way to the Canary Islands, and they was all the way in Asia. And I don't think Japan on here, but India should be on here. They were the greatest seafarers in the world. They were getting around. They was everywhere. Okay, right here, and going back to what I'm saying, to Crete and Rhodes, link to the Moan and the Messenian trade networks. I'm gonna tell you, the Phoenix Suns was everywhere. They were getting around, but it wasn't Phoenix Suns by themselves because, like I told you, everywhere the Phoenix Suns popped up, they popped up in Iberian Peninsula. Who you got over there? Sephardic Jews. Go to the Bible. Bible, one of the prophecies, it mentioned the Sephard. Sephard is in the Bible. Sephard is actually in the Bible, y'all. But let's keep moving. I'm reading from the Jewish virtual library, Ophir, Morocco. Ophir, or Ephraim, the provincial capital of Central Sud region, north central Morocco. According to Judeo-African tradition, Ophir is regarded as the first site of Jewish settlement in Morocco. Many legends have created about the ancient community of Ophir, whose first members are said to have arrived from Israel before the destruction of the first temple in Jerusalem. A Jewish community was set up in which was governed by the Ephraim family, then named the Ephraim family. The Jews of this kingdom are said to have belonged to the tribe of Ephraim, one of the lost tribes of Israel. Indeed, in modern era, the Ephraim family administrated affairs of the community of Ephraim and all the community of the region. The Jewish cemetery of Ephraim is very old, and there are many tombstone inscriptions dating from the Middle Ages. Local tradition ascribes some of them to the 1st century BCE. Pilgrimages were made from every part of Morocco to the cemeteries, which contained the remains of revered rabbis and martyrs. Right here, we see they mention the cemeteries of Morocco. If we go check and see the cemeteries of Morocco, my first check, they said it was 40-something cemeteries. And then when I want to check it again, it says hundreds of cemeteries. So I really don't know the count of cemeteries. But go check. I'm going to check Tunisia, and you can go check Tunisia too. Tunisia, Carthage, and they said they had 40-something cemeteries too, but probably more than that. But stretching from Tunisia and in between all the way to Morocco and to Mauritania, you'll see the Jew cemeteries, and they date back to ancient times and to the BCs. And North Africa was filled with Jews. Moving on. My next article is about Ephraimite Moors. The majority of the Israelite tribe resided under the authority of the house of Joseph, which in turn was ruled by the tribe of Ephraim. Just prior to the expulsion of Northern Kingdom in Israel, 722 BC, many of the Moorish Ephraimites of the house of Joseph fled to Arabia, where they became known as the Benaya Quan tribe, while others settled in the Horn of Africa and became known as the Afar. You remember I mentioned Afar earlier when I was doing the definition of Ephraim? And it's right here say Afar means Ephraim. But when I did definition, it kept saying over and over the Afar, the Ephraimites, the meaning Ephraim. So we see right here that they came to Africa and they was known as the Afar. Some of the members of Afar were more so specifically referred to as the Danakil, meaning the Israelite tribe of Dan. Many of the Moorish Ephraimites of Far continued to move westward, ultimately settling in Morocco, Marrakesh, Mauritania, and Mali. In North Africa, they became known as the Benaya Ephraim, meaning the children of tribe of Ephraim, while their tribal lands were known as the land of Far Ephraimites. It's from this etymology that the Romans named Africa. There were many variants of the name. Ephraim, such as Afar, Ephraim, Ephraim, friend, Wolfrin, Yafrin, Yafrin, and Yafran. A Moorish Ephraimite queen called Kana is well remembered to her resistance to the Arab invasion of North Africa during the early part of 8th century, while Abraham Hafradi is remembered for the first king of the Ephraimites in Ophir. In Mauritania and Mali, the Moorish Ephraimite became known as the before. The classification included the Mande tribes, in which most prominent of the Mandingo were also known as the Malakink and the Sanuki. In 1311, Abu Bakr II, the emperor of Mali, set sail across the Atlantic with 1,000 vessels, fleets, and this became the settlement of the House of Joseph in America. The voyage was recorded by Egyptian historian Ibn Fadli al-Umar. The Malian Ephraimites, the before, joined the members of the Dani tribes, the Danites, such as the Navajo and the Apache, in populating the West lands, which were promised to the children of Israel. In America, the Ephraimite Mandingo Moors divided into several tribes, which included the Mandan and the Nancoke. In this regard, Moravian missionaries visited Nanticoke Nation in the Maryland Eastern Shore to compile a vocabulary of the language, and found they were speaking pure African Mandingo. Cypress Tuck, a Moorish Natak, was the first to be killed during the Boston Massacre. The Ephraimite Moors were also known as the original Black Cherokee, the Choctaw, the Chickasaw, the Creek, and the Seminole Indians. Some members of the before Ephraimite Moors migrated to Mali and ultimately settled in Nigeria, where they became known as the Biafrans. The Moorish Ephraimite Biafrans became the leaders of the Igbo Israelite nation, which was symbolized by wearing of the tradition of the fez, which customarily worn by the Igbo chiefs. In 1993, Igbo, by the name of Chimi from the Imo state in Nigeria, petitioned the Israeli rabbinate for recognition of the Igbo as members of the tribe of Ephraim. Rudolph Windsor, the author from the Babylon to Timbuktu, writes about the Ephraimite of the Mali and the Morocco settling in Yoruba land, where they became known to their neighbors as the Imo Yokwam, meaning the strange people. However, they refer themselves as the Beni Ephraim, the Benaya Ephraim. You see, remember at the beginning when they say that they called themselves the Benaya Ephraim. Well, the Benaya Ephraim, that's Abrit. And I will show you later in another passage where they try to say that the Benaya Ephraim are Berbers. And you can tell they still call them the Moors, but they don't let you know they're Hebrew. But you come down here and you see what they call themselves, the Beni Ephraim, the Benaya Ephraim, the Beni Ephraim, not the Benaya. Benaya is the Abra, but the Beni Ephraim. The Beni Ephraim is sons of Ephraim, and the Benaya Ephraim is Benaya's still son. But they don't let you know it's Ephraim. So the sons are Ophir. And right here is what's in the name of Africa. Africa, the world's second largest continent, both by size and number of Asia. Its landmark holds 54 countries and nine territories. Over 1.11 billion people call Africa home and call themselves African. One of the most popular suggestions for the origins of the term Africa is that it derived from the Roman name tribe living in the northern reaches of Tunisia, believed to possibly be the Berber people. The Roman name these people the Ephraim, the Afar, the Ephraim. Again, you see the Afar. Remember the Bible dictionary? Who they say the Afar was? The Ephraimites, the Ephraimites. It's in the Bible dictionary telling you the Afar or Ephraimites. This right here from DBpedia. The before are a group of people inhabiting Mauritania, Western Sahara. The origins are most likely ultimately lie in the Mande people, only to later be absorbed by the groups such as the Wolf, the Sori, the Fulani, and the Triage. Scholars such as H.T. Norton describe the before as loose term to encompass the pre-Sanhali people, who are part Berber, part Negro, and part Semite, and others describe them as the Mandi, who inhabit the area prior to the arrival of the Berbers. They also occupied these territories in the 15th century and before in the end of the 17th century. And they were comprised by various groups, including the Wolf, the Berber, and the Fuli. So right here, we see they say the before are part Berber, part Negro, and part Semite. Well, we know Negro mean black, and we know the Semites are Hebrews. So when they saying part Berber, part I assume that all of them are Hebrews. The Berber are Hebrews. The Negroes are Hebrews, and the Semites are Hebrews. It ain't no three. It's all in one. I'm gonna show that a little later. Well, you know why I believe that belief. This right here, I don't know, just a definition of the Benaiah Ephraim. The Benaiah Ephraim were a Berber tribe, prominent history of the early Islamic North Africa. In the 8th century, they established a kingdom in central Maghreb, with the Tlemcen as the capital. Prior to 8th century, the Benaiah Ephraim resisted and revolted against foreign occupiers. Roman, the Vandals, the Byzantines of the territory of Africa. In the 7th century, they sided with Kana in her resistance against the Muslim Umayyad invaders. In the 8th century, they mobilized around Safari dogma and voted against the Arab Umayyads and the Abbasids. In the 10th century, they founded a dynasty opposed to the Fatimids and the Zirids and the Umayyads and the Hamadads and the Margra. The Bene Ephraim were defeated by the Omeroids and invading Arabs. At the end of the 11th century, the Ephraimite dynasty was recognized as the only dynasty defended the indigenous people of Maghreb by the Romans, referred to as the Afrikanese. In the 11th century, Iberia, the Ephraimites founded Tofa, Rwanda in 1039 and Rwanda in Andalus and governed from Cordoba for several centuries. So right here we see that the Romans referred to the Beni Ephraim as the Afrikanese. So the Benaiah Ephraim not the Benny, but Benaiah, Ephraim, was the first one that the Romans called the Africanese. That's going back to the Afar. The Afar people was the first one called Africans. Now they're going back and telling you that the Benaiah Ephraim, but we see that the Beni Ephraim, sons of Ephraim, were the Africans. Again, the Benaiah Ephraim. They try to make the Benaiah Ephraim Berbers. They tell you they Berbers, but it's the Benaiah Ephraim. They just switched the name because the Arabs came in and switched their name. And they make you think when they say Arabs or Moors, no. The Beni Ephraim, the Benaiah Ephraim is the Benaiah Ephraim. They Hebrews. They are the Africans. Moving along, going to Jewish Encyclopedia. I'm going to be reading from the Jewish Encyclopedia and the Luther. The largest of the ancient division of southern Spain, compromising the Moorish kingdom of Seville and Cordova. When you see in the last source I read with the Beni Ephraim, it brought up Cordova, but they call it Cordoba with a B. Now they're speaking of Cordova. It's the same place. Cordova and Granada, with the town of Malga and Alucin and several others. The most beautiful portion of Iberian Peninsula early attracted Jews, as it had earlier attracted the Phoenix sons. Right here, you see where it said that Iberian Peninsula first attracted the Phoenix sons earlier than the Jews. Jews, both those who were already settled in and the ones that served in the army, gave essential assistance to the followers of Islam when they conquered Spain. You see, the Jews that came in with the Arab that assisted, that was in the army, and the Jews, the Sephardic Jews also, they helped assist defeat the Visigoth Christian churches. The Visigoth Christian churches is the reason they entered. Let me finish reading right here and I'll go into more about that. The African Jews, who they call the Jews? The African Jews. Again, the Africans are the Jews. Under Kali al-Yuda took part in the decisive battle near Isras in 1711. The captured cities of Cordova and Seville were entrusted by the conquerors to the care of the Jews. Again, Cordova and Cordoba. But remember the Beni Ephraim? They would rule Cordova. Cordova, it's the same place. The Beni Ephraim. Now I'm telling you, they were Jews ruled it. So they both can't be the same. And later the large Jewish population became known as the Villa do Judaos, Jew City, meaning Jew City. The Jews, so long oppressed, were now allowed the fullest religious freedom by their new rulers. They lived under no civil disabilities or whatever, or poll tax. Well, right here we see that the Jews assisted the Arabs. The Sephardic Jews assisted the Arabs when they came in. The reason reason is being, if you look at Iberian Peninsula, the first Jews that entered, they entered after the fall. They entered after the fall of the first temple, and then you had some Jews came in the second temple. After the second temple, I think the Judah tribe entered after the second temple. I'm not mistaken. I can't remember who came in after the first temple, but both times in North Africa, in Iberian Peninsula, Jews entered. But in Iberian Peninsula, you already had Jews there that was from Toledo. Them Jews right there was older, and they oral history say they came over there when Solomon them didn't go. And that's why they say that Spain was Sephard. Go to the Bible. and try to go to the Bible and find Sephard. It's a prophecy speaking of Sephard. And then you got Sephardic Jews over here, so they try to act like they don't know Sephard was Spain, but if the Bible mentions Sephard, then you got Sephardic Jews. Obviously, it's Spain. Now we're moving on. I think this is my last source. My last source is speaking of a Sephardic Jew named Yahya ben Rabbi, also known as Yah the Negro. You see, Yah the Negro was a Portuguese nobleman. He was reputed to be the direct descendant of Hebrew Israelites of ancient Babylon, Iraq, that claimed the direct descendant of biblical King David and was a progenitor of the Ibn Yah family. Ben Rabbi resided in Lisbon and was respected Sephardic Jew, as well by King Alfonso I of Portugal, who knighted him for his cause, awarding him the title Lord of those Negroes. English, the village of the Negroes. So we see he was rewarded the village of the Negro, but they ain't telling what he was rewarded for. He was rewarded for he helped the Alfonso get rid of the Moors, but he don't tell us this right here. That's what he was rewarded for. So we seeing a Sephardic Jew from the tribe of Judah, same people that wanted help from the Visigoth church, turn around and help get rid of the Moors, to run the Moors out. And he rewarded he was Lord of those Negroes, the English village of the Negroes, and presented him with the estate that had belonged to the Moors. You see, it belonged to the Moors, and it was called what? The village of the Negroes. So you had a Sephardic Jew that took that name as a Negro. He adopted the name Negro, and his family came the Negro family because his family also took on that Negro name. Not only him, they took it on as a title, and many other family came Negroes. He got a grandson, Ben something Negro, but he got a grandson that took on Negro, and he got other grandson that took on Negro. They became the Negro. They went from the Yahya family to the Negro family. But do we see they got the Negro family from the village, the black village, out of those Negroes that belonged to the Moors. So the Moors were the Negroes. And so pointing out the Moors were the Negroes, we know that the Negroes were in Spain. They try to say, hey, Arabs are the Moors. But right here, we see the Benaiah Ephraim, who they call them Berber, they make you think Berber, but we see they are they're Jews, Hebrews, Israelites that enter Iberian Peninsula, IBER. Go look it up. IBER is another word for Eber. We know Eber is Hebrew. So we know right then Iberian Peninsula is Iberian Peninsula. It's Iberian Peninsula, Hebrew Peninsula. Now all we got to do is turn to the slave coast, to the Ivory Coast. Who live off the Ivory Coast? The Ivory people. So Ivory Coast is the Ivory Coast. Hebrew Coast. Hebrew Peninsula, Hebrew Coast. The Ivory are the Sephardic Jews that were carried to Africa. Now what happened is to make the Moors go into Spain is because the Sephardic Jews was having problem with the Visigoth church, the Christian churches. So they reached out to the Hebrew, the Israelite, Northern Kingdom, Southern Kingdom, Northern Kingdom, Southern Kingdom, Jews Hebrews, Israelites. Hey, we need help over here. We got this trouble down here with these white folk. Could y'all come in and help us? So that's when the Hebrew, the Israelite, Northern Kingdom, Ephraimites, Africans turned around and they asked the Arabs who came in and invaded and said, hey, can y'all come down here and help us get rid of them? And they promised them money and land. We hear about Islam, the Islam golden ages. Look up the Jewish golden ages. You got Islam golden ages because Islam golden ages tell the history of what? Islam. Jewish golden age is gonna tell you Jewish history. It's gonna tell you the Jews that entered. It's gonna tell you about what his name was, Judah or whatever the African Jew that entered. It tell you about him. Jews here to tell you about black Jews. You just got to go researching it. They got it in there because they rather tell you about these Jews, and then letting Islam take all the credit. The Jewish history basically tells us that when they went into Iberian Peninsula, that the Jews governed it. Because the Arabs didn't know how to govern. They ain't know how to go in and set up no government. But the Jews know how to set up a government. And now that government, Spain flourished. They had a boom. You went from classical Europe to the science renaissance. Go look up the science renaissance. It's boom. Science. They came when you hear about the Moors introduced soap, the Moors introduced music, the Moors introduced this, the Moors, the African, the Hebrews, the African American. African American built everything. Well, the Moors built everything. The science renaissance, scientists, and they sit there and tell you, oh, Moors did the Moors. Hebrews, Jews, Moors are Hebrew, Moors are Jews that were converted to Islam. They were converts. Arabs came in, defeated them. They became Muslims, and they went over there. They went over there to Iberian Peninsula, Hebrew Peninsula. Look at the grave sites. Go pull up the dry bones and let the dry bones of North Africa speak, and they will tell you they were Hebrews, Ephraimites. We are the chosen. We are God's people. Israel, Northern Kingdom, Ephraim, African. We were covered. Can't everybody be a Hebrew? Everybody can't be from the tribe of Israel without being the Ephraim, without being Ephraim, without being African. Oh, we ain't African. We ain't African. You giving your chosen bloodline away. Go pick up a Mormon book and read. The Mormon book say, hey, the Ephraimites came over to America. It is their chosen land. Ephraim, African, American, Afro-American. It's our land. America is our land, our promised land. African. It's the promised land of Ephraim. Go to the Hebrew mounds in America. Where Joseph Smith What he say? He found a golden tablet and translated it and say Hebrew was over here. The Ephraim tribe, Africans, Ephraim, Alpha. And then what happened later? They tried to deny the slave trade. Slave trade didn't exist. What happened in Spain? They evicted the Jews, right? The Sephardic Jews. They evicted them. Some went in North Africa. Some went in to Asia. Some went into Portugal. And then later were evicted from Portugal too. And went other places in Europe. Then say you had the one that were cast to where? Slave Coast. To the Ivory Coast. Some of them enslaved on sugar plantations. And them same Jews that was enslaved on sugar plantations, what they do with them? Manuel came in, his law superseded Alfonso laws, and his law said, hey, these same Jews that we evicted that are still citizens of Spain and Portugal, these Portugal and Spain citizens, they can now be enslaved in the New World. What they say, 16, 19, 16 something? 1600, what they, no, 1503. 1503, they start sending Sephardic Jews to America. 1503. Go look at the Spanish Inquisition. How long Spanish Inquisition last? They say 1100s to the 1800s. When the slave trade stopped? 1800s. How long the Jews was over there in Europe getting persecuted? How long the Jews over there in Africa getting persecuted? How long the Jews in America been getting persecuted? Spanish Inquisition. Now go look at the Inquisition in South America. Oh, yeah. The Inquisition came over to America. And guess who they say in America? Guess who it followed? Guess who getting persecuted in South America? And on the island. It was still Jews. Why? Because that's who they signed to the New World. Sephardic Jews. Let me see. Let me touch on the penal colonists. And I don't even supposed to do this right here because I'm talking about the Ephraimite, but I'm going to touch on penal colonists and what happened with the slave trade. You had the Lancados, Sephardic Jews from the tribe of Judah, son into West Africa as landlords, Lancado landlords. Then you got the Grados. They were called convict prisoners. They were signed to the penal colonies. Penal colonies was once, go look up ghetto. Ghetto ain't start from America. A ghetto where they housed Jews. It was segregation. Segregation. They put Jews and segregated them from the other population. So when they turned to West Africa, they were put in ghettos. And these ghettos, when slave trade started, when slavery stopped, these ghettos turned to penal colonies. And slaves weren't called slaves no more. They were called Degrados. Degrados or the expelled one. Who was expelled? Sephardic Jew. Expelled from where? Hebrew Peninsula. And what were penal colonies? Penal colonies was all in Portugal lands. All Portugal Newfoundland. Guess what Portugal Newfoundland was? The same trade post where I tell you the Moor was. So Portugal went to all the lands to where the Moor was. And they put up penal colonies. And they'll take the people from that land, they'll take the people in that land because we're at war. And they'll send them to another land to be enslaved. But nobody enslaved in their own land. Look at the penal colony. Look at the grottos. They wasn't enslaved in their own land. They were sent to other penal colonies, enslaved. Land to land, land to land, land to land. It's time to start teaching our kids the truth. It ain't teaching the kid the truth to keep our mind enslaved and dwelling in the past. It's time to start teaching our kids the truth of who we were after Israel. Northern Kingdom, Southern Kingdom, Northern Kingdom, Southern Kingdom, North Africa, Africans. What we do when in Europe, and we started the science renaissance. It boomed. It boomed. Science boomed. Come to America, we invented everything. Well, guess what? Europe, we invented everything. Moors, Sephardic Jews. Wasn't no Arabs. Jews governed it. Moors was all through there. Moors are who? African. Well, this right here, it's supposed to be, when I'm speaking on now, when ain't supposed to be in my Ephraim, because that's Sephardic Jew dealing with Sephardic Jew, but the Sephardic Jews and the Moors tie in. And if nobody don't know what happened over there in Iberian Peninsula, but I done showed you a little bit. When I showed you Yaya Negro and how Yaya Negro turned on the Moors, the Moors came in and freed them from the Visigoth Church. And then the Visigoth Church, 700 years, came back in with the Roman Catholic Church. And then they started the what they call the reconquist, we know the reconquer, but what they call reconquist. They started reconquist, and what the reconquist? It was the taking the land from the Moors. They went to India. They went to America. They went to every trade post, everywhere the Moor was, and set up penal colonies, prisons, free labor, started slavery, ghettos that turned to penal colonies. But that right there's supposed to be for another what's name. But I'm done for today, y'all, and hopefully I can bring the next video soon.